2, love is within. Everyone say that with me. Love is within. You know, I've mentioned this story here before, but again, it bears repeating. When I was a little boy, I grew up on a farm with several acres of pastures, and we had horses and pigs and chickens and everything you could think of. And that's where I got this wonderful Midwest dialect. And I had a stuffed rabbit, a fake one, that it was a green one, and it had checkered overalls on it, and I carried this thing around with me everywhere, and I loved it. And one day I came home, and I couldn't find my little rabbit. And come to find out, in the real rabbit hutch, those rabbits had torn my stuffed rabbit into bits and pieces. And you know, it was not, and you know what, at that time, I thought that rabbit loved me. I thought I loved my rabbit. It wasn't until years later that I discovered that there wasn't 1 ounce of love coming from that rabbit. It all was coming from me, being reflected back from the rabbit. This is what the ego does, this voice of fear. It says this. It says for you and I to look within and see that what is within us is darkness, is fear, and it's not pretty. And so what happens is this. We constantly look within, and we don't like what we see. But we put all of this under the subconscious mind, and sooner or later, like stuff being put up under a rug, it builds up. And so the ego says, okay, fine. You're not the bad one then. Your brother and sister is the bad one. And this is what we call projection. And it is much more broad in terms of the way we use it here than Freud used it. But let me basically describe it again. Once again, the ego would have us look inside and see emptiness. It's what we call the scarcity principle. That what is within is lack and limitation and darkness and so forth. But again, this becomes too burdensome for us, sweeping it under the rug of the subconscious mind. And so what we do is we project it outwardly upon our brothers and sisters and say, they're the bad ones, not me. The ego wants you to believe that not only is everyone outside of you inferior to you, but that there's someone outside of you too who will complete you and bring you the love that you have been seeking for all along. All right? Yep. So, the motto of the ego is this: seek, but do not find. Seek, but do not find. You know, people who have come to me for counseling, they say, Kevin, how do I find love in my life? And you know what I say to them? Anybody remember? Give up the search for it, mentally. Because the search for it is actually, you're saying to yourself that what I am searching for, I do not possess. Otherwise, why would I be looking for love? Is everyone with me? Yeah. So we're not addicted then to love, but we are addicted to the search for love. Okay? We are addicted to the search for love. But the search for love is not really a search for love. It's really a fear of love. Because if you really understood where the presence and the power of love flowed through into your lives, through the aperture of the present moment, if you truly spent time in the now moment and looking within to find your experience of love as opposed to looking without first, then you would question the sanity of ever going into the future, ever going into the past, ever going quote unquote outside of you to try to find your true identity. Now, I talked about relationships, or talked about projection rather, and I want to give you what I have, and I have this in my book as well. I want to give you the ego's relationship playbook. You want to hear it? Yeah. All right. The first one is this. I do not have the treasure of love within me. And again, this is the scarcity principle, that the ego wants you to look within and see lack and limitation and the fact that you're the scum on the bottom of a garbage can. And we've all had this experience, right? Yep. Hello? Yep. We all have had this experience too. However, the ego reminds you, someone, quote unquote, out there does possess this treasure trove of love. 3, that I must, quote unquote, love the one who has my treasure. And 4, I must simultaneously fear this person because of it. Why? Because this person has so much power over me that they could simply withhold love and it would throw my world into chaos. Now, I've said this here before, that I've been in relationships where I've been better off taking a cheese grater to my face. But my friends, it was because I believed what the ego, what that voice of fear was telling me. There's an old Eastern saying that says, I laughed when they told me that the fish in the water were thirsty. Let me repeat that. I laughed when they told me that the fish in the water were thirsty. You say, Kevin, what does that mean? I'm saying we've got love, we're engulfed by it, surrounded by it, immersed in it. It's like what the Polynesians say. It's like we're sitting on the top of a whale, throwing our nets over, fishing for minnows. We've got everything that we need for a perfect peace, a perfect love, and a perfect comfort, but we don't know it because we've thrown reality away and replaced it with an illusion. Carl Jung once said that whoever looks outside dreams. Whoever looks inside awakes. So the spirit of love is always reminding you, as the Course says, I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience. I decide upon the goals that I will achieve. And everything that happens to me, what? I ask for. How am I asking for my experiences within my life? I'm asking for them because, as the old song goes, our thoughts are prayers. And we are always praying. The question is, are you allowing love to be dominant in your mind and to be dominant in your heart as you go forward in this life? Everything that the voice of fear holds out for your temptation, the voice of love holds out a better choice. And that better choice is what we call extension. Extension is nothing more than recognizing the love that God has placed within you, knowing that it is within you because God placed it there, okay? And there it shall forever remain because it is unchanged, unchanging, and unchangeable forever. That is who you are, an eternal child of God. And the only thing that you're truly going to resonate with within this world is that which is also eternal. Now, this is a question of compatibility, really. The ego wants you to believe that you're a temporary individual, an ego, that you have to create each and every day. And the temporal nature of the ego should become very, you should become very aware of it by virtue of the fact that it changes each and every day. Who you were yesterday is probably not the person you think or who you want to be today or tomorrow. You constantly have to change your self-concepts to fit what the world believes you to be within this experience. But back to extension. Extension is, again, recognizing that reality of light and love that lives within us. Again, the ego wants us to look within and see darkness and limitation and lack. The voice of love is constantly wanting us to look within and remember who we are, what our real nature is, that we are made of light, that we are not made of darkness. And then to extend that light to a world that is in desperate need of receiving it. Does that make sense? Extension. And so we gave you the voice of fear's playbook, or the ego's playbook, and now I want to give you the spirit of love's playbook. You ready?
Yes.
Number 1, I now possess God's treasure of love within me. Now listen, that means I don't have to do anything. I don't have to come to Kevin Rice's class. I don't even have to read A Course in Miracles. That I am perfect and whole as God created me now. When we begin, each and every time we begin this class, I say, "How are you?" And you respond. Hopefully you remember. What is it?
I am perfect and whole as God created me.
You are perfect and whole as God created you, and not what you made of yourself. You are not your self-concepts. You are the one and only, you and I together, child of God. We are one. An extension helps us to remember that unity. Do you know right now you and I are exchanging molecules between each other? And the only thing that is separating you from me are my judgments about you and your judgments about me. This course is nothing more than teaching us how to remove the obstacles that we have interposed between ourselves and ourselves. That's all this is about. I now possess God's treasure of love within me. 2, everyone possesses the same treasure that I do. You know, we experience the loveliness of heaven together or not at all. Not at all. Because you have to include everyone within this entire experience and look beyond the shadows of time and space and the shadows of fear and begin to tether yourself instead to the light that lives within each and every one within this world. And we do that through a process of forgiveness, which we'll talk about in a minute. 3, I will love others as I love myself because we share the same treasure. To the degree that we withhold love from anyone, we withhold it from ourselves. This world contains no judgments, no darkness that we ourselves did not put there through our judgments and through our perceptions. Every dark spot of fear that you experience or see that's preventing you from seeing the love and the light of God within your brother and sister is coming up for you to be able to remove and recognize that that is not your brother's reality, that your brother's reality is, again, just like yours. You share the same treasure together. And 4, love cannot be threatened and fear does not exist. Fear does not exist. Now, I don't want anyone to get the impression that I'm talking about right or wrong or good things and bad things, like the ego is a bad thing. What is the ego? It is nothing. Where is the ego? It is nowhere. All right? When I ask you to consider releasing fear within your lives, I'm not doing it, I'm not saying these things because fear is a bad thing. I'm saying it because it is not compatible with who you are as an eternal child of God. And so you're never going to know or remember who you are, who your brothers and sisters are, as long as you tether yourself to the temporary things of time and space. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Love cannot be threatened, and fear does not exist. So, you know, we're talking about the second area here, that love is within us, while the ego wants to teach that love is outside of us, and that we must be on a constant search for that love. I have, in my experiences with people, have what I like to call an agenda-free rapport. Everyone say that with me. An agenda-free rapport. In other words, you're not going into your friendships, your dating relationships, your sex life with the attitude of what am I going to get? But instead, that's from a posture, again, of limitation and lack. It's from the scarcity principle. But rather, you're moving with people in the corridors not of time and space in your mind through judgments, but in the portal of the timeless present moment. And your attitude is, what am I going to give? What would love do in this situation? This is what, obviously, extension is. What am I going to get is the ego's version. What am I going to give is the Spirit of Love's version.